Yo guys, Redviles here. So this is my variation of the Gemling Legionnaire Twister build that's been getting a lot of traction the past couple weeks. I've probably put in around 15,000 divines, like 2.5 mirrors into this build, just over 2 mirrors. It's insane, and I'm gonna quickly go through why I think this is like the best ascendancy by quite a margin compared to all the other popular ascendancies. So the three main alt quality additional bonuses that we get from Gemling that I would say that's most impactful for the build is, of course, Whirling Slash, more attack speed, which scales multiplicative with increased attack speed. Twister gets more proj speed, 1% quality for 1% more proj speed. You can't really see it, but I have 42% more proj speed as well here. And of course, Barrage, probably the strongest alt quality for the build, I think. Chance to not remove charges on use. So at the moment, I have 102% chance to not consume frenzy charges, so 100% guaranteed that I'll be pretty much on max frenzy charges no matter what. It'll tick down with charge regulation every now and then, but no matter what, every time I use my barrage, it will not consume any frenzy charges, which is really insane because I think one of the weakest part of a lot of builds for Twister builds is frenzy charge generation, and previously I was playing on Deadeye, and I think that was one of the best ways to generate frenzy charges through the Ascendancy compared to Abyssal Lich or Spirit Walker. But after Gemling got a lot of people started playing Gemling on Twisters, it's by far like the best for frenzy generation and pretty much a lot of other stuff too. So currently my Twister projectile speed 430. It's really good. I know Abyssal Lich could get like 600% plus. I've seen some Gemling builds at 600% as well, but I think right now it's a pretty good sweet spot at 430%. Um, and attack speed for Whirling Slash right now, I am using Mage Blood in my hideout with no buffs at all. I have 13.9. One thing that I realized, and I think it's pretty much confirmed by a lot of other people in my chat, is that the Whirling Slash distance for Gemling, at least compared to Deadeye, is actually bigger and longer. So like one thing I definitely felt that's pretty noticeable was I had close to 15 attack speed per second on my Deadeye before, and at like 12 on the Gemling build, it felt the same. Like unironically, it's a weird thing, but people have been telling me is potentially because of the Gemling mercenary model is bigger, which means the slash distance is bigger. I can't really confirm on that, but won't be surprised if that's true. I'm not sure about Abyssal Lich, how the distance between the whirling slashes, but definitely for Deadeye and probably for Huntress as well, it's a lot smaller than Gemling. So at 13 point almost 14 attacks per second, it's pretty damn fast. And we can get up to like 15 or 16 with like rite of passage buffs and onslaught on the weapon, but ice in the hideout is pretty insane already. So why I think Gemling is better than every other ascendancy for Twister. Um, the biggest thing was the infinite frenzy charge generation or frenzy non-consumption, but it just fills up every like hole that other Twister builds had. And like on Deadeye we had issues with like we didn't have that much prod speed. On Abyssal Lich, the frenzy charge generation is rough if you're doing like armored maps with like a lot of defense modifiers. Yeah, and for Spirit Walker, you gotta deal with the dodge rolling to help with the clear. Alright, so I'm gonna quickly go through my gear. I already have a 450 div budget PUB on the in my build spreadsheet. You can check it out. The gear is a little different for that, just to make it more budget friendly and to fit in all the important stats you get. But so first off, Soaring Spear, I guess you need a really high attack speed, as high as possible. Attack speed spear, and make sure your offhand's empty for the Dance with Death. 25% more skill speed while offhand is empty. This is really important because it's indirect damage because you get to shoot your twisters faster every like ideally 3 whirling slashes to get the maximum twister bonus from the whirlwinds. Um, the my main damage spear, I would recommend using Ordained. Ordained is really crazy. I POB'd a lot with Ordained. A 50 div Ordained is probably better or equivalent of like a 700 divine rare Acorian spear, and I probably wouldn't recommend going for a rare spear until you have like 1,000 to 1.5k divines. I spent 800 divines making this, got very lucky, but um, I think I had plans of spending around 1,000 divines to make an equivalent of like a 1.5k div spear. Flying spear is really nice for the prod speed, which is like indirect damage as well for Twister. And I really value Onslaught. Onslaught is really nice in maps. And if you're spending 1,000 divines on a spear, you might as well, you want to be getting Onslaught at that rate because you probably have more than enough damage in the build. Um, Helmets, just high ES so we can scale with Subterfuge Mask. This node did get nerfed, but I still think it's quite valuable for the build to get more evasion for Ghost Dance, ES recovery, because now it's different from last league. You definitely need a good amount of evasion to get decent ES recovery. Rarity, crit res, just depends on your budget. You can always go for double res, triple res if you need. Raven's Touch, Zaros Gift, extra jewel sockets. Currently, I'm rocking 3 diamond jewels with prod speed, ES, ideally attack damage hybrid with the ES hybrid mod, crit damage bonus, effective prefixes. I think that's the BIS for this build. Amulets. This one's interesting. So, Eternal Rage, Absent Amulet. This is very important. If you don't know, they made this change maybe like 2 patches ago, I think, where like if you don't have the attribute requirements for a level 20 gem, it will automatically lower the gem level to what you can use. So don't worry if you don't have the strength requirement for like an 18 or 20 Eternal Rage, it doesn't matter. Once spirits, quality of skill is really important, and spirit, I'll say these two are the top mods here. And quality of skill, just you get a bunch of extra quality on Twister, mainly Twister Barrage and Whirling Slash. 50 spirit to fit in all the gems and additional support gems. 50 is not that important. I'm pretty sure I can rock with 42. I could even make like no spirit work because I have a lot of additional support gems that reserve spirit, but they all have some impact to the build, so I think it is worth it to hit at least T1 mod on there. Thaumaturgic Generator is really insane. Pretty much you generate mainly a frenzy charge every 5 seconds because it's based off your skill gem requirements, and majority of our skill gems would have pretty high dexterity requirements. So we should have pretty much max frenzy charges 24/7 after like the first like 15 seconds of the map. Sacred Flame, definitely BIS slot for the offhand on the damage setup. One thing to take note of is that Rakiata's flow contradicts with this last line here on Sacred Flame. So that's why we have this reduced presence of AoE, which means that Rakiata's flow extra damage that we deal with our support gem will only apply when we hit enemies outside of this presence area. So if you want to min-max your damage, you want to make sure enemies are outside of this area. It's a little annoying, but I feel like when you have like Rakiata's flow, Gyrocans on the build, you have more than enough damage for a lot of content, and you should be fine anyways. Taming, mandatory. Ideally get good rolls on this, and then of course put some Callus. I got pretty GG enchants on this. For taming, it's just extra damage. For those who don't know, these extra boosted wind skills is 50% extra per element. It's 50% extra after all the conversion on the build if you have any converts, if that matters. Other ring, just flat damage, rarity res, simple as that. The gloves, if you have the investment for it, marksman prod skill gloves with like ideally prod speed and surpassing is ideal. I think prod speed is like mandatory. If you're planning to make these gloves or buy these gloves, you definitely want to have prod skills and prod speed. Surpassing is not too amazing, but I definitely think it's better than attack speed. So probably the best mod here next, and then rarity. Flat damage is really good. Proj damage is pretty similar to T1 flat damage. I wouldn't worry if you hit flat damage over proj damage. For the Mage Blood, so I've been using both Mage Blood and HH. I like using Mage Blood for like content like Abyss or Simulacrum, because there's not many. Well, for Simulacrum, there's not that many rares, and for Abyss, you want to avoid getting the Headhunter teleport mod, which might ruin your chance of Omen of Lights. And I do think this is the best in slot mods, Jade, Diamond, Silver, and have like one duplicate. You can fit it in a gold or a bismuth if you need the defenses, the res. Chess, Moria Invictus. Shout out to Nick 2. I saw him using this and I really like it. I do think Ellie Res, Global Defense, and Chaos Res is like pretty much mandatory. You get, I think that's like the only good mods for this build in my opinion. 5 sockets, they do cost a lot now, but a 4 socket works as well. And the runes here are very important. The idols and runes here. Regen helps us to sustain Berserk. I'll talk about that later. Rabbit Idol for more rarity. Reduced curse effect is nice. The Fox Idols, for those who don't know, has a default 5 quality bonded mod, and the Fox Idol gives us that bonded modifier boost. And same as the Idol of Eramir, 10% chance. Oh, sorry, it gives us 10% chance to not consume charges, similar to this boot mod, or I guess the alt quality for Barrage. For the boots, getting the charge consumption is probably, I would say, mandatory. On my 400 div POB, I did have this mod as well there. I think you really want that. Skill effect duration is nice for twisters, but not mandatory. And just, a chunk of ES. Movement speed, I think, is really nice for quality of life. Because when I make my builds, I like to think really realistically with it. And with Twister, with Withering Slash, I won't lie, there's some layouts where like you get stuck in corners and you can't really move out of the way. So you gotta move with like WASD sometimes to walk around to map a little bit more smoothly. And movement speed helps a lot with that. And I guess hybrid ES is like only a little bit more ES, so it's not that important. So I definitely would recommend movement speed there. Spirit of the Cat, mandatory. Oh well, best spirit for sure. It's not mandatory for the rite of passage, but yeah, evasion, crit chance, skill speed, movement speed, all very nice for the build. The Labiangas is really important for passive mana regeneration, and we do have 2 nodes that scales with on flask effect, with this attack speed here and over here on the weapon set 1 passive points. And for the runes on this build, I would say Legacy of Wanderlust, in my opinion, is like the best legacy you can get. Painted Attunement is very good as well on the helmet, but I can't find an efficient way to get slow immunity, mainly the Chilled Ground. Temporal Change is a little annoying too as well, because we're not fully curse immune. So I think this is better than a Painted Attunement in my opinion. And you probably have more than enough damage if you're like planning to get Outer's Legacy on the build, because I would probably get that after the Lineage Gems. I'm just going to go quickly through the passive tree. So I am using a split personality from the shadow starting point, which is over here. It's a little annoying. You got a path from the Gemling starts and connect it to the shadow if you want to put this jewel socket. But once you do that, you can unspec it after. Insane Valley from skill speed, ES, and damage at the start. I value frenzy charges a lot because, with Gemling, I think the biggest thing out of it is that you can get 100% non-consumption of frenzy charges. So gotta get these 2 nodes, I think, bare minimum. Time loss value is insane here for the build because we have to get this Fable Stag for another 10% chance to not consume as well in the build. Bunch of crit chance, ES evasion, attack speed, damage. A lot of jewel sockets. Proj speed's really nice. I just added this just yesterday. I think it is worth it. A lot of value. Skill effect duration, proj speed, and attack damage. More jewel sockets, and more attack speed on the weapon set 1. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention are my jewels. Shout out to my boy Snoobay. I saw him using this controlled metamorphosis setup. I really like it. I've been using it since like week 2 of the league. Megalomaniac, of course, for more diamond jewels. I've been asked a lot about this jewel, Flesh Crucible, Unwavering Stance. I do think Less Mana is probably the best second mod to block if we're excluding the Keystone passive points. Reason why Unwavering Stance is really nice is that if you play this build, you will definitely, getting stunned feels very impactful, and you don't want to get stunned every time like you're trying to whirling slash through a pack of monsters or something. And it's not mandatory at all. You can definitely play without it, but once if you do get stunned and it's very noticeable, then that is exactly why I have this on. My Megalomaniac, Paragon is pretty much mandatory if you have a Megalomaniac. Or you can go for the other nodes and then re-anoint this one for Paragon. Falcon Dive, just more attack speed. My Heart of the Well, recover life and mana on kill. Mana on kill is mandatory. Life on kill, I would say, is very nice because if you get like bleeding, which reduces your life before ES, it's kind of nice. But I've actually never died to bleed, even when I'm not killing stuff. So it's just like a safety precaution. Damage is extra. You want to avoid fire. Fire is really bad because you have it already too much with Sacred Flame, and so the Cold and Lightning helps with Trinity uptime. So I'm gonna go through the gems. I would say that's probably the most confusing part of Gemling, especially this Ascendancy node, gem studded. For each favor or for each color, sorry, of Saga support gems that is most numerous, you gain these buffs, and you can gain all three if you equally have the most numerous support gems for each color. And one thing that confuses a lot of people, and we confirm that it does matter, is that the number of colored gems is based off each weapon set, which is why I have different number of gems for each attribute, but I do actually have balanced gems for all three of these buffs. And my best tip to figuring out if you have like too much of blue, red, or green gems is that you use the mana cost, because if you have filled blue gems, filled blue gems, 30% less cost. So if I remove this blue gem right here, my barrage goes from 48 or 34 mana to 48. This is on my weapon set 1, so that's why it only affected barrage and not twister. It's a little confusing. You do have to you know, tweak around with each weapon set, because this is my weapon set 1, weapon set 2. If I pull this out, 134 mana, put it back in, 94, and you know, whatnot. So the way you can figure out if you can balance the green and red gems as well is that you can add an extra color of the gems until the mana cost goes up, because you would know that you have just past the limit, or past the number of I guess blue gems you have. So right now, if I put it on this weapon set 1 skill of this red gem, mana cost 48, take it out, back to 34. So I know right now that my red gems and blue gems are equally the same number for at least the weapon set 1. And pretty much you gotta do that for both weapon set 1 and 2s to get all 3 buffs. The green gem is probably the least important, but realistically, at least for me, I do press my WASD when I like maps, so it does, you know, affect me a little bit, but not too importantly. And you will have to tweak a little bit with the different weapon sets. For the default attacks actually helps quite a lot with the different weapon sets to fit in some random support gems. So one thing I've been asked a lot is, how do I have 4 random extra support gems, random skill gems here, even though I have maxed out skill gems that a player can have? And I've been told from someone in chat that you can snapshot skill slots. It's pretty unethical, I'm not gonna lie, but it's just we're snapshotting extra skills. So I'm able to put this in here with 4 extra skill slots. Augmented Flesh gives 2 as well. So I have these 3 items here. If I take this out and remove this skill slot right here, it will not let me put another gem here, which is why I must be able to put all 4 of these items in, or 3 of the items in, and use this right here. And for those who don't know, auras or buffs coming from items, at least for scepters, the purity of level 20 purity of fire, if you put support gems that reserve spirits, they actually do not reserve spirits. It's been like this from like 0.1, it's still like this. So you're able to put these in and you do get the buffs, but at least you only get the buffs while you have this on. But that's something to take into account, and that's how I'm able to reserve all my spirit, even though there's a chance that POB says I don't have enough spirit, but I actually do. So the auras I'm using right now, is Eternal Rage, of course, from Absence. This does not require any spirit if you have it here on the amulet, but the for this one actually, if you put an additional spirit support, it will cost spirits. The I believe only the weapons, at least for this case, the Shrine Scepter will not cost additional spirit if you put the support gems in there. Using Berserk, so I've seen different setups on this build where people actually scale Rage and have Berserk up on both weapon sets. I don't really like that because I tested it myself. If you do a 40% less recovery map, and if like, using Doriani's and it increases the effect of that, you will degen to death. And I don't really like that. So currently I only have it on the second weapon sets, which allows me to actually reserve more spirit on my first weapon sets and also gain the extra rage effect bonus when I shoot my twisters, which is really nice. Wind Dance just for some more defense, same as Ghost Dance. For Ghost Dance, if you somehow can't get more than like, I would say 10k evasion, then I would probably not use it. But you should be able to get it, especially with this chest on the build. Herald of Thunder is very important. So we are using Trinity, and I've been told this setup from someone in my chat, and it's really good. If you combine Ash Prowess and Embitter with Herald of Thunder, you deal a lot of cold and lightning damage at the same time with Herald of Thunder, which helps with the Trinity uptime with Sacred Flame, because Sacred Flame gives a lot of damage as extra fire, which means you need to deal a good amount of cold or lightning, and Herald of Thunder helps a lot with that. And for those who don't know, Trinity ult quality is pretty insane as well. Fizz converts random elements for like each hit you deal. So you're going to be hitting each element very frequently, a good amount if you're using a high, decent Fizz damage spear. If you're not, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you are, then it helps the Trinity uptime quite a lot. And I am using Aziri's Communion here. This allows us to go low life. Make sure you do not use Diala's Desire on this, because if you use Diala Desire on this, it will reserve below 66% life, which makes you not on low life. Because low life in PoE 2 is 35% unreserved life. And the reason why we're low life is because we have a lot of damage for going on low life. And example here, Dire Strike 2, it's 70% damage while on low life. You can stack this with Dire Strike 1 as well. It's kind of crazy. I have it somewhere here. Yeah, right here, 50% damage. Also got the attack damage while on low life, 60%. And I believe a couple more nodes with low life, but yeah, you get the point. We get a lot of extra damage and buffs while on low life, and it's really insane. Charge regulation is really nice, just pretty much perma skill speed. It's really good because like, one thing I realize about this build is that we get a lot of generic skill speed, including for the Twister attacks as well. And so I feel like we're attacking a lot faster with Twister compared to like every other ascendancy. Like when I see Abyssal Lich Twisters or even Deadeye Twisters, when you shoot like a barrage of Twisters, there's like a really long delay of like shooting twisters out. But on Gemling is very quick because we have a lot of generic skill speed on everywhere. So let me also mention how we actually get over 100% chance to not consume frenzy charges. 2 idols in the chest, 15%. The boot modifier from the chronomancy modifiers, 15%. Amulet quality up to 5%. Support gem of perpetual charges. Where is it? Right here, 25% chance. My Megalomaniac, which gives Paragon. If you don't, you can also use an Anoint, but you're probably using Thaumaturgic. Thaumaturgic is mandatory, by the way. I would not use any other Anoints if you're on a budget. That is mandatory. Paragon gives 5% as well. Ascendancy small passive nodes here give 2/2 for 4%. You can get up to 23 quality as a support on the corruption on the Barrage Gem, and the Fable Stag node gives 10%. So if you're wondering why you're not at 100% plus on when you check the tooltip skill bar here, just reference back to this and see what you're missing. If you want to play on the budget, you're probably missing out on Paragon, and potentially the amulets, which will make you down to 92, which is okay to play with, but that's why I have combat frenzy on the POB. So for the one, the 8% chance it does consume frenzy charges, you have some way of generating frenzy charges somewhat quickly. But until then, you probably won't get 100% until you get a Megalo and the quality amulets. But this also means that you actually don't need 2% somewhere. I'm overcapped by 2%. Maybe you can get 21 quality, or don't get a max rolled boot. 13% is fine as well. So yeah, that's pretty good there. So I made a budget PUB, sub 500 divines, and I would say majority of the items are they probably will go down in price over time. So um price breakdown right here, items all here. It's a little bit different. Like I know that with less than like 400 divines, 500 divines, you're not gonna be able to get 100% uh chance of not consuming frenzy charges. So I did drop Wind Dancer for um combat frenzy, which just helps with frenzy charge generation, and because you should be shattering a good amount of monsters. The times where you won't be shattering would be like 200% deli with ailment threshold, and I would avoid that until you get 100% chance to not consume frenzy charges on the barrage through all qualities. So if you're wondering what to do to upgrade towards like my version of the build from like the 500 divines, I'll say the main upgrade path is saving up for either headhunter, probably headhunter first, and then going for lineage gems, and after lineage gems, probably upgrade the rare gear to have more like defenses like ES, get more damage on the gloves, get some flat damage or proj speed. Actually probably get the proj speed on the gloves and proj skills, get more ES in the boots, get some rarity. Skill effect duration is a very good modifier, but it's not, I won't say it's too crazy. Um, of course, eventually get absent amulets. I believe like a non-sanctified absent is like 300 to 400 divines. So for those who are wondering if you can play the build under 400 divines, answer is yes. I do think, I for sure know that Gemling is better at a low budget and at a min-max budget compared to every other ascendancy. Even at like 20 divines, if you compare Gemling with other ascendancies, Gemling definitely feels the best and wins. I've been told by a lot of other people in the chat that they've tried different Twister builds, including like Abyssal Lich and Deadeye, and Gemling feels the best out of all of them. And if you were to go below, like, let's say 200 divines, the things I would swap out and change is probably focus less on getting rarity on gear. It's gonna suck a little bit, but that's like if you really want to play Gemling below like 200 divines, you gotta cut out some rarity. Um, Skip out some attack speed on the tree, get more damage back, get more defenses. Um, I would not. I would probably not go for all the chance to consume frenzy charges yet if you're on a budget, because a lot of the items cost quite a bit to fit in those extra like chance to not consume or rarity, so you might have to drop that. But your mapping should be relatively similar because you still get a lot of proj speed. You still get like at least 60% chance to not consume frenzy charges from all the like easy way to get those idols chests and the passive point of the tree and whatnot. All right, so I'm just gonna talk over this gameplay. Just a regular 200% daily map, 8 mod map, no tablets or anything, just for a quick showcase. And um, you can just pretty much see that uh, crazy amount of off-screen skill effective duration and proj speed helps a lot with that. Um, Initially, we start with not that many frenzy charges, so first first 10 to 15 seconds might be a little slow for the frenzy charge generations, but aside from that, hella quick, hella fast, very smooth. On maps with more curves, there will be times where you get stuck with whirling slash. That's just you gotta get used to it and like play swerve around it fast enough before you get stuck. You'll get used to it really quickly, to be honest. One thing I get asked a lot is how do you stop name locking monsters? So when you see me map, I rarely name lock monsters and get stuck, and the reason is because if you hold your whirling slash before you like hover a monster, just like a few seconds before, it prevents you from name locking them, and prevents you from just stopping and moving. So that's a quick tip there.